Well, the Tatis was already they were already talking about him in the minor leagues, man. They were already
Yeah,
talking about it. Oh, next year, wait for next year. We're gonna get Tatis up. And yeah, he didn't disappoint. When he came up last year, it was like, whoa, he's gonna be good. And then look at this year. He's all over the place. He's hitting home runs, stealing bases, getting RBIs, making plays. It's just this kid is ready. He's like, if the Padres make that big splash where in the trading deadline, I think they're the team to beat. And I'm just saying it here. I'm a big Dodger fan, and I just don't want
but
anybody to say like,
one
oh
thing
yeah,
that I was talking to a couple Padres fans, and I was telling them, like, you got to understand, you got to trust the process.
yeah,
It's not just about winning the World Series this year.
mm-hmm.
It's about being potential playoff contenders every year for the next 5 6 years.
And that's what they need
You
to think about. Yeah,
Exactly. So you got guys like Mackenzie Gore that's coming up in the Padres farm system, and he's a guy that is going to be lights out, for the Padres. Um,
yeah,
he's one guy that I think that they really need to hold on to. They do have some other prospects that they could trade. Um, Taylor Trammell, he's an outfielder. He's pretty young. He's 22 years old.
mm-hmm.
And a prospect like that, an outfield prospect, that he could go to a team that is rebuilding, like possibly the Blue Jays. And the Padres need relief help. So if they could send that guy to the Blue Jays and possibly get Ken Giles out of it, that's a good setup guy that they could have to set up for their closer.
That's
I
true.
don't know. I don't know if Yates is going to be their potential closer for the next few years. I'm pretty sure he's out for the season. But
Yeah, but that's something they got to think about. And then of course they have to think about like longevity of their seat of their to see if they can win more division titles, of course. But what you just said, winning the World Series, maybe, yeah, for any team right now that's making the playoffs, they got a good chance of actually winning the World Series. I was looking at the bracket and how the bracket was sitting. You had the Giants at eighth place, and they will play the Dodgers on the first series. How do you think that series will go? Because you know how the Dodgers and Giants, they've always been kind of like this year,
they
the
step up their
Dodgers, exactly. So that could be a big disappointment towards the Dodgers if the Giants do face them in the playoffs in the first round of the playoffs, because the Giants kind of do give the Dodgers a little bit of tough time. What if they go ahead and get that Mike Clevinger trade, or what if they go get that Lindor trade? And
Or what if they trade Johnny Cueto, since he's going to be a free agent soon also?
it could
And
happen that way, yeah. And that could be a thing that the Cueto goes to the Padres, and guess what? Boom, there's your trade that you needed for the Padres.
exactly.
So
Honestly, I think a Cueto trade is probably the best solution for a team like the Padres because of all their young pitchers that they have on their staff.
yeah,
Uh, he's definitely a guy to learn from.
yeah,
He's been in the league for a while. He's a World Series champion, won the World Series with the Royals a few years ago, like 5 years ago. And with that type of resume, he's he's definitely the guy to learn from.
yeah,
And these young guys like Matt Strom and Chris Paddock, like they could really learn from this guy. Chris Paddock is a great pitcher,
yeah.
but because I, I don't know if it's something underlying an injury or if it's just mental with him, but he's not doing too hot this season. I think
Yeah.
his ERA is up to like 7 something.
Ooh, yeah. I mean, he's better than that, and probably because of the summer camp. The summer camp was only 2 weeks,
Yeah,
and they were
possibly.
probably going into the season not feeling all that great. That's what happened to Bueller. Bueller wasn't all that ready when the season started, so he
Yeah,
needed a couple of starts of 4 innings a game, and then now they increased it to 6 innings, which is what I think they should have done with Paddock. But every team has a different coach, and every coach has a different strategy for their players. So, what do you think about Houston, though? Is their Houston Astros going to do something, or are they just going to stick with what they have and they're going to wait for Verlander next year, or they're going to go ahead and make a big splash and try to get a pitcher because
see,
the game
I
changed
really, I really think that if it really depends on if Verlander comes back this season or not, because that's still kind of up in the
up
air.
in the air. Yeah,
Verlander's, he said that he's been throwing a little bit, but he's not game ready yet, and it's probably still going to be a few weeks before that. So They really only have 5 days to decide if they really want to be, buyers or sellers, if they want to just kind of play out the season how it is.
Yeah,
Um,
they're
there's
still
a lot of
they're
guys
still
that are
a
on the
great team
team that are
though.
struggling,
They're
but
still a great team though. They're still a
yeah,
great team.
they
They're
really are a great
struggling,
team.
but they're still a great team.
They're struggling because I don't know what's going on in Altuve's head, but he's definitely better than that.
Yeah,
I hate the guy, but I love the player. You
yeah,
know,
but he's better than what he's showing for sure. And yeah,
definitely.
I think
It's the offense, it's the defense. You can tell it's definitely a mental thing with him because his bat's been struggling this whole season. He's batting like 125.
yeah,
But when you look at his defense, he doesn't make errors. He's
yeah,
that guy that's just on top of it. He's the smallest player in MLB, but the type of plays that he can do from second base,
yeah,
he's a great defensive player.
yeah,
And the way that he's been playing lately, I really think it's just a mental thing with him, and he just needs to break over that hump.
yeah. And they're not even in first place. The A's are. The A's are in first place, and I think that team is ready. I think it's ready to like go to the next level. And I don't think they need to make a trade, to be honest. I think they fill in the gaps pretty well. They got a good bullpen, they got a good starting rotation, and they have good hitting. I don't see them making a big splash unless they go ahead and get a reliever. I think
I,
that's all they
I
need.
honestly think that the A's, the only thing that I really see that the A's really need, because they're a scrappy team.
Yeah,
That's the thing that they have going for them. They're scrappy. When they need a base hit, they get a base hit. And they're not afraid to bunt a runner over, and they're not afraid to go for the bunt single.
yeah,
But there's a few guys on the team that are just unproductive this season, like Chris Davis, for example. He's
yeah.
just not doing anything, and he was the
No,
same last year. So you can really kind of count that guy out. But other guys are emerging. Ramon Laureano, his bat's pretty decent, but his defense is amazing. He saves a lot of runs.
yeah,
The thing that I see with the A's, I really think that they need to kind of beef up their starting pitching. Frankie Montas, he's just getting hit around a little bit too much this season. And if they could get just one guy, and it could be a guy like Cueto, if the A's were to go to the Giants and try to make out a trade with them, I
yeah.
could really see Johnny Cueto working well in that organization. He's still be in the West Coast. It would
In
take
the
away
Bay
that
Area.
potential trade from the Padres. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And any other surprising trades that you see that you think that's going to happen?
The team that I was talking about, the Red Sox, they actually have a few players on their team that I could see possibly getting traded, and the biggest one I see is JD Martinez. He has
Forgot
a
about him. Yeah, you're right.
he has a really big contract with the Red Sox right now, and honestly, they don't really seem like the type of team that's going to win the World Series within the next few years while his contract is still valid.
Yeah,
So might as well sell him now.
while you
And
have him.
whatever team that gets him, they're going to have a huge powerhouse in their on their team. He's a 40 to 50 home run guy,
And
and
we don't know if the DH is going to play out for next season or,
yeah,
DH is
it
going to
would
be
probably be
forever.
better if he goes
Yeah,
to an American League team, just to be safe than sorry. But that's his own. I feel for his own benefit, but
yeah.
for a team's benefit, they could just play him in right field. He doesn't have the best defense in the world, but when you're hitting 50 home runs in a year, who cares how your defense is?
You can make up with home runs.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
Fine, you score a run on me because I made an error. Fine, then I'll hit three in.
yeah. That's true. Any other trades, man? Before we sign out?
I mean that I think that's pretty much all I have for today.
Yeah,
There's some other things that I could talk about, but they're not really like any like huge trades or anything. So
yeah,
I think those are the major ones that we could have discussed today.
yeah. Well, with the
Oh,
deadline approaching, man, it's going to be. Oh, you got one?
actually, I have one more.
Okay, go for
Uh,
it.
he's a 31-year-old, and he plays for the Kansas City Royals, and the Royals are definitely not going to be contenders anytime soon, and that's Whit Merrifield.
Oh,
And
yeah,
Whit Merrifield, he's a 300 hitter. He has doesn't really have much pop. He'll hit 15 to 20 home runs, but he has speed. If and guys, teams that really rely on stolen bases, that the Royals have a lot of guys that like to steal bases, and even though he's a little bit on the older side, his contract's going to be over in a couple years. So whatever team can get him, he's not just going to be a rental. He's going to be on the team for, like 2 more seasons, I believe.
Okay.
So that's actually another one that I could see a potential fit for the Dodgers. He plays second base and he plays the outfield. And in today's game, with Kike Hernandez being able to play outfield, shortstop, second base, Max Muncy going from first, second to third, Edwin Rios going first, third to outfield, he would fit perfectly in that squad because they're a bunch of utility players.
Yeah,
You know,
it's a bunch of retire. I mean, I don't know about the Dodgers. To be honest, I don't know if they're going to make a big splash every year. They do. This year, I don't see it, but they can surprise me. They can surprise everybody. They can
yeah.
just jump in and make a trade.
I really think the thing with Whit Merrifield is he's not going to be that expensive because he's not the type of player that teams really spend a lot of money on.
Yeah,
He's a solid player, and he could really fill a hole that Kike Hernandez left. We were hoping that Gavin Lux would take that spot at second base, but unfortunately, because of his bat struggles, he didn't make the major league roster, and he's still at the
exactly.
alternate site.
Yeah,
But Kike Hernandez, he's struggling, man. He's hitting in the I believe it's either the high 100s or the low 200s, and he'll hit a bomb once in a while, but we
not
need more than that.
consistent.
We
He's
need
not
more than that.
consistent.
It
Yeah, you're
really
right.
it really seems like the only weak area that the Dodgers have is second base.
Yeah, I agree. He's not consistent. He's not consistent. But yeah, I mean, all these trade talks is really exciting to me. I like talking about fantasy trade talks and all these things. Hopefully, one of these trades that we mentioned here happens, so they could be like, "Oh, these guys mentioned it," and who was their plug? Like, we don't have any. We're just fantasizing about it. So, I mean, yeah, I like all these talks, and if there's any suggestions that you guys have on our videos, go ahead and post it here on YouTube, on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, anywhere. You can hit up Willpower, you can hit me, Carlos Baseball, and or Real Talk Baseball, and you guys can go ahead and mention, those trades. So, anything else to add, Will, or this is it?
I think that's it for today.
All
I'll see
right,
you
cool.
next.
Yeah. So this is Real Talk Baseball signing out.